From MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
Voting by mail in Montana survives another court challenge. How that will affect your voting coming up. And learn how Bozeman residents worked together to rescue a lost and stranded dog after it got lost during a hike in the Bridgers. It is just ahead of 6:30 on this Friday. Chet Lehman, Matt Elwell with you here, working our way towards really, truly the first weekend in October that's going to be October-like.
October-ish rather than August-ish.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, temperatures are going to be above average again for the day. A little chilly this morning. A few areas may have a little frost early on. 35 in Ennis, 37 in Belgrade, 34 in Butte. West Yellowstone's been frosted over many times over the course of the last few weeks. Bozeman day planner may be a little smoky, temperatures into the 70s. We're not dealing with a ton of wind across the area today, but we do have red flag warnings. Winds could be gusting 40 miles an hour plus tomorrow. We'll of course talk about how that's all going to influence your weekend, chance of snow, rain, and a big cool down. That's all coming up in just a bit.
Thank you, Matt. 6:30 now. The U.S. Supreme Court rejecting a last-ditch effort by Republicans to halt all mail voting in most of Montana counties for the general election. That means 45 Montana counties will be mailing ballots to all registered voters starting today. The other 11 counties will have polls open on Election Day, November 3rd, but will still be mailing absentee ballots to those who request them. Well, after more than a year of construction despite global pandemic, Bozeman Yellowstone International Airport unveiled its 75,000 square foot expansion. MTN News was one of the few to get to see what it looks like inside for the first time. Airport Director Brian Springer, along with the rest of the airport board, walked us through the new addition, which brings 4 new gates to the airport. The $26.5 million project will add new food and beverage services, including a new Ross Peak restaurant with windows looking, of course, towards Ross Peak, as well as additional space for retail storage, plane parking, and more. Airport will now be able to accommodate service animals with special dog-friendly room and service specifically for mothers and babies. Airport also focusing on upgrading security with more than 300 additional cameras.
All the roadblocks that could be there did not happen because people said, we're going to make this project happen. Here we have a project of large scale, $26.5 million, and yet at the end of the day, it's on time and it's within budget. I would call that a success.
Now, Springer adds there's also additional room left over that could become retail space in the future. 4 new gates, along with the services, will be open to passengers November 5th. 6:32 now. In spite of the pandemic, Yellowstone National Park had a record-breaking September of visits this year. Park officials say 21% increase from last September. More than 837,000 people came to see the sights. So far in 2020, park has hosted more than 3,380,000 recreational visits. That's down about 11% from the same time last year. But remember, the park closed because of COVID-19 back on March 24th. The 2 Wyoming entrances opened on May 18th. 3 Montana entrances, the most popular entry points, didn't open until June 1st of this year. Well, today, Gallatin County Sheriff's Office, Bozeman Police, Montana Racial Equity Project, and the American Civil Liberties Union of Montana will be hosting a panel to discuss local law enforcement. The online forum called Keeping Our Community Safe, Perspectives on Policing the Gallatin Valley. It will take place today from noon to 1:30. The event is free and open to all.
We have to be able to find out what's going on, talk to everybody involved, and find out the facts and also the emotions. And I think that hopefully tomorrow we can do that, have that same conversation and be open-minded.
The virtual event will have a question and answer session following the discussion. Those interested in participating must register online first. You can learn where to register by visiting our websites. Well, when you hear a phone go off and see an unknown number, we're not very likely to answer, but that habit is creating some issues for contact tracers. People are hired to get in touch with those who have been around someone diagnosed with COVID. But when people don't answer calls from a contact tracer, controlling the virus becomes more difficult. But it doesn't mean contact tracers give up.
Some cases when contact tracers call someone and that person is uncomfortable talking to them on the phone, in some counties, they will actually send someone to that person's home to conduct an in-person interview if they are more comfortable doing that.
Now, even when contact tracers do manage to get someone on the phone, it can be difficult to get information from them. This is a result of all the spam calls trying to scam people. That's why contact tracers say it's all about establishing trust in that cold call.
If you have a cultural understanding of the people that you are calling, that goes a long way to begin with. I think you're a lot more likely to be trusting of someone who has the demeanor and cultural, understanding of your region than someone somewhere across the country.
Now, Contrace was founded when coronavirus cases started popping up in the United States. It helps public and private groups with contact tracing efforts. That group encourages every state and local government to work with phone providers to help people know that calls are coming from contact tracers. Ideally, the call would be identified as the local health department or contact tracing program. Well, this time of year, you have a pretty good chance of glimpsing a bear if you're driving or recreating outside of town, but there are a few things to keep in mind, according to Montana Department of Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. Biologists estimate adult bears need up to 20,000 calories a day in the fall to store enough fat for hibernation. That means they're on the lookout for the easiest food source, which could be in your backyard. Bears will look for high-calorie foods such as fruit trees, trash cans, pet food. And because they're highly intelligent animals, they'll learn to revisit your yard if that's been a place that they found success in the past. So FWP says be sure to secure those food sources to protect yourself and, of course, to protect those bears. This is a nice one now at 6:36. It's a heartwarming story involving a family, their dog, and the support from the Bozeman community. Mick Lovin, the dog, or Mick, disappeared on a hike from the M to Bridger Bowl. Danny and Dan Gable posted on social media that Mick was lost, asking for help finding him. MTN News spoke with one volunteer who was part of the search for Mick, described what it was like to see the owner reunited with his dog.
Hundreds of people were looking for Mick. At least a dozen people just threw down everything they were doing on a Sunday night and raced up that mountain with headlamps and climbing gear to do that. It was just an amazing sight.
Gable say on their next hike, Mick will be wearing a GPS collar. Good idea in that one. 6:36 now. Gallatin Gateway Superintendent Teresa Keel is the Regional Superintendent of the Year for the Montana Association of School Superintendents. School Board Chair Aaron Schweitzerman says the district is proud of Keel, praises her as not only a school leader but also a community leader. Keel is now in competition with 8 other regional superintendents for the Montana Superintendent of the Year. We wish her the best, of course. 6:37, we're going to take a break here on Montana This Morning. We come back. Are you taking the COVID hand washing advice to heart? A new survey says a lot of people are. How the pandemic changing habits, coming up after the break. But first, here's Gail King with a look at what's coming up at 7 o'clock.
Good morning to you. Ahead on CBS This Morning, federal authorities stop an alleged plot to kidnap the governor of Michigan and then violently overthrow the state government. Wow, we'll have the latest on the case and how law enforcement uncovered it in the first place. Also, see the future of high-speed rail travel. First on CBS This Morning, we're going to take you behind the scenes with Amtrak as it tests America's fastest train. Look at it whizzing by. And British pop star, that's Ellie Goulding, is back with her first album in 5 years. We'll ask her why, and when we say we, I mean Anthony Mason. We'll ask her why she stepped out of the spotlight for a while. She tells all to Anthony. It gets people to open up. We'll see you at 7 o'clock on the dot.